Hello, 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 everybody out there. How you doing? Welcome to day 30, or no, day 19 of the 30-day Black History Month lessons. Brought to you by myself, Netshatep Matt, otherwise known as Coach Titus. How's everybody doing today? Well, today we discuss Southeast Asia, the melanated beginnings of the Maritime Bridge, the southern arc connecting three oceans. Wow. So we're going to focus on today, Thailand, Cambodia, Philippines, and Vietnam as the maritime junction where the Indian Ocean melanated knowledge from Africa to India meets the Pacific Ocean melanated knowledge from the Polynesia, Joman, creating the world's most diverse cultural technological synthesis zone. What you think about that? So, what'd you learn in school? What you learned in school was Southeast Asia was influenced by India and China. Local peoples adopt Hinduism and Buddhism from more advanced civilizations. The region was a cultural backwater until European colonization brought development. That don't sound right. Did that sound right to you? Nope. What the grid reveals? Nope. Southeast Asia wasn't a passive recipient of external influence. It was an active grid hub where three major networks converged: the Indian Ocean Network, the Western Connection, melanated seafarers from East Africa to India to Sri Lanka to Southeast Asia brought maritime navigation, astronomy, and temple architecture. Austronesian expansion, the dark-skinned oceanic people. All right, number two, the Pacific Network, Eastern Connection, Polynesian navigators from the Philippines, so it's Polynesian navigators onto the Philippines, onto Indonesia, and then to mainland Southeast Asia. They brought advanced boat building, star navigation, ocean current knowledge, and the Lapita culture spreading from Melanesia. Okay, number three, the Asian Continental Network, Northern Connection. Chinese Li Min, black-headed people fleeing south. Vietnamese Dongson culture with sophisticated bronze technology. And Korean, Japanese maritime contact through island chains. Southeast Asia equals the crossroads where all three met and synthesized. The temples weren't just religious, they were grid nodes marking the junction points. What do you think about that? Pretty crazy, right? So, moving on, we have Vietnam, the northern anchor, the Dongson culture, 1000 BCE to one Common Era. Who they were: advanced bronze working civilization in northern Vietnam, the Red River Delta. Created some of the world's most sophisticated bronze drums, contemporary with the Shang Dynasty China and late Egyptian dynasties. Pretty interesting, eh? Anyway, the Dongson bronze drums, what mainstream says they're ceremonial objects, symbols of wealth and status. But what the grid reveals, these drums are frequency generators. The design: large bronze drums, some over 1 meter tall, weighing hundreds of pounds, decorated with geometric patterns, concentric circles, rays, and spirals. Feature boats with warriors showing maritime knowledge, star patterns on the drumheads, which is astronomical encoding. The acoustic properties, what it sounds like when struck, create deep resonant tones that carry for miles. Different drums tuned to different frequencies, used in networks, multiple drums across sites, creating harmonic fields. The grid function: bronze equals copper and tin alloy equals an excellent electromagnetic conductor. Geometric patterns equals frequency modulators like modern circuit boards. Positioned at river confluences for water equals conductor, enhances electromagnetic transmission. And sound waves and electromagnetic fields equals long distance communication systems. The evidence: the Dongson drums have been used across Southeast Asia, Vietnam, origin point, then Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, as far as the Java and Sumatra, and southern China. This wasn't a trade spreading ceremonial objects. This was a network of synchronized frequency transmission stations. Sounds pretty good. Moving on. Now, Who were the Sham people? Vietnam's maritime grid operators. Well, here's who they are. The Austronesian speaking people, same language family as Polynesian, Indonesian, and Filipino. So they're black. Inhabited coastal Vietnam from the 2nd to 19th century CE. They built Hindu Buddhist temples, Maison, Punagar, and in Po Klong Garai. Darker skinned seafaring population connected to the Pacific Island networks. What did they build? They built the Po Nagar Temple Complex at Nai Trang. Built eight They built the 8th to 13th centuries on a hill overlooking the ocean. Hindu temple dedicated to goddess Yan Po Nagar, Sham Mother Goddess. Brick towers using interlocking technique, no mortar. Blocks fit so precisely that they fuse through pressure. Isn't that crazy? Aligned to cardinal directions, grid marker. My Sun Sanctuary, religious center in the mountains, valley surrounded by peaks, over 70 temples, many destroyed by U.S. bombing in the Vietnam War. Acoustic properties, valley shape creates natural sound amplification. Positioned where two rivers meet, the electromagnetic conductor junction. Yay! What is a grid function? Coastal temples equals receiving stations for Pacific maritime transmissions. The mountain temples equals processing centers, elevation and valley acoustics. River positioning equals grounding into the continental electromagnetic field. And sham navigators equals human operators maintaining the maritime continental connection. So smooth. So, what is Vietnam's role in the grid? They are the southern anchor of the Asian Continental Network. They receive knowledge from China in the north, transmit it to maritime Southeast Asia, south and west, and connects to the Pacific Network via Sham seafarers. The Dongson drums equals the technology, the Sham temples equals the infrastructure, the Austronesian navigators equals the operators. Okay, love it. Moving on, here we go. So now we have Cambodia, the terrestrial aquatic junction, Angkor Wat, the world's largest grid node. The scale, Angkor complex is 400 plus square miles. Yes, you heard me right. 400 plus square kilometers. Okay, Angkor Wat Temple alone is the largest religious structure in the world. Built 12th century Common Era officially, but evidence suggests much older foundations. What mainstream says? Hindu temple built by King Suryavarman II, later converted to Buddhist use. It represents Mount Meru, cosmic mountain in Hindu or Buddhist cosmology. What the grid reveals, Angkor is a hydraulic astronomical computer. The water system, Angkor wasn't just built with water, it was built to manipulate water. Isn't that crazy? Massive reservoir system, or they call them barrays. West Barray equals 8 kilometers times 2.1 kilometers and holds 50 million cubic meters. Canals and channels connecting temples, reservoirs, and rivers. Moats surrounding each temple. Angkor Wat moat equals 190 meters wide. That's a moat and a half. Wow. The grid function. Moving water equals moving electrical current. Water conducts electromagnetic fields. Reservoir size and shape equals capacitors. Strong electrical charge, yo. Canal what network equals a circuit pathway or circuit pathways directing electromagnetic flow. Moats around the temples equals isolation transformers focusing energy at temple centers. This is a water-based electrical grid covering 4 square kilometers. Wow. Isn't that insane? Insane. The astronomical alignment. Angkor Wat's primary alignment. Spring equinox. Sun rises directly over Central Tower. Temple is a mirror image of constellation Draco, the dragon. The causeway represents the Milky Way. The five towers represent peaks of Mount Meru, which corresponds to the galactic center. But there's more. The entire Angkor complex mirrors the sky. Different temples equals different constellations. Wow, that's amazing. Position to match star positions circa 10,500 BCE. Same date, by the way, as the Sphinx in Giza. Alignment to Leo, suggesting a common origin. What do you think? It is definitely a common origin. Robert Bauval and Graham Hancock showed Giza mirrors Orion's belt. Angkor mirrors Draco, the circumpolar constellation that never sets, always visible, always overhead in the northern hemisphere. Why Draco? Because Draco's location equals the pole star reference point over thousands of years due to precession. Different stars in Draco have been north at different epochs. Angkor equals long-term astronomical calendar tracking precession of equinoxes over a 26,000 year cycle. Wow. So, what are the acoustic properties of these temples? Well, the temples are sound resonators. Galleries with repeating archways equals and creates echo chambers. Specific chanting frequencies resonate through stone. Visitors report feeling vibrations when monks chant in the central chamber. The stone itself, sandstone with high quartz content, has piezoelectric properties. When you combine water flowing through canals, stone resonating with sound, and astronomical alignment, you get an electrical current, a piezoelectric generation, and a cosmic electromagnetic radiation at specific times. You get a multi-spectrum energy concentrator. Wow. Who built this masterpiece? Who built this masterpiece? That's what I want to know. The people that built it, they are called the Khmer people. Okay? Khmer. So they spell it Khmer Empire, ethnically related to modern Cambodians. Genetic evidence shows Austro-Asiatic populations related to Vietnamese and Thai and Laotian. Austronesian admixture from maritime peoples, darker skinned, oceanic. Indian genetic markers from maritime contact, not invasion. The linguistic evidence, Khmer language equals Austro-Asiatic family. Heavy Sanskrit influence from Indian maritime traders or priests, but the architecture predates the Sanskrit inscriptions. So what does that mean? Well, it means the temples were built by indigenous Southeast Asian peoples with melanated maritime connections who later adopted Hindu Buddhist religious framing for structures that were already grid nodes. The religion came after the technology. Very important to know, by the way. So, what is Cambodia's grid function? It is terrestrial aquatic junction. Tonle Sap Lake, largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia, equals a massive electromagnetic capacitor. Wow. The Mekong River, one of the world's greatest rivers, equals continental electromagnetic conductor. Angkor complex equals processing center where aquatic and terrestrial energies merge. This connects north to China, Vietnam via Mekong, west to Thailand, Myanmar, south to Malaysia or Indonesia via maritime routes, and east to Pacific via Sham Austronesian seafarers. Got it? Good. Moving on, we have Thailand, the Western Gateway, the Mon and Khmer legacy. Before the Thai, the region that is now Thailand was inhabited by Mon people, related to Cambodian Khmer, built kingdoms in the 6th to 11th centuries. Austro-Asiatic populations connected to Vietnam and Cambodia. They built the the Dravati Kingdom, 6th to 11th century. Buddhist centers in central Thailand. Temples and stupas using similar hydraulic astronomical principles as Angkor. The Thai arrived later, migrating from southern China in the 11th to 13th centuries. They inherited the grid infrastructure. So, Ayutthaya Kingdom, the Ayutthaya Kingdom from 1351 to 1767 Common Era, built on an island at the confluence of three rivers, the Chao Phraya, the Pasak, and the Lopburi. Over 400 temples, most destroyed by Burmese invasion in 1767. What was their grid function? Three river confluence, triple electromagnetic junction, exponentially stronger than a single river. Island position equals an isolated electromagnetic field. Water surrounds the node. Temples as focal points within the island grid. Why was it destroyed? The Burmese invasion of 1767 wasn't just warfare, it was grid disruption. Again, what was destroyed? The temples systematically destroyed. Buddha statues beheaded, cutting off the crown chakra of the structures. Royal archives burned. City abandoned. This matches the pattern of grid warfare worldwide. Destroy nodes, kill knowledge keepers, erase records. The Golden Triangle, opium as grid suppression. The region where Thailand, Myanmar, and Laos meet was historically home to hill tribes, the Karen, the Hmong, the Akha, and the Lahu, indigenous peoples with oral traditions of ancient knowledge. Location of ancient trade routes connecting India to China. In the 19th to 20th centuries, British colonial forces introduced opium cultivation to the region. Oh, dear God. CIA continued this during the Vietnam War, funding covert operations. Why opium in this specific location? Because opium addicts the population, disrupts consciousness, destroys traditional culture, families, communities break down, creates economic dependency. People grow opium instead of food. It disrupts the grid node, indigenous peoples displaced, sacred sites abandoned. Gee, sounds familiar, doesn't it? This wasn't coincidental drug policy. This was targeted consciousness warfare at a critical grid junction. Why do they keep doing this? Because they don't want us to know the truth, man. What is Thailand's grid function? The Western Gateway. That's what it is. The Andaman Sea equals the West Coast equals the Indian Ocean connection. The Gulf of Thailand, East Coast, is a Pacific Ocean connection. The river systems equals continental electromagnetic pathways, the bridge between maritime and mainland networks. Let me hear you. This is very interesting stuff. I think so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna actually take this up. After I've done the 30 days, I'm really gonna delve into these countries in different places because I find this information extremely important to teach, not because, and there's a melanated component, of course, because all these societies are melanated in their origin, but I think as far as world history goes, these things are very important to know. So check back, after this 30 days is done, we're going to really delve. Okay, we're going to really delve into the African queens, African kings, um, the maritime networks all over the world. We have to really dive into that and see what's happening, okay? Anyway, moving on. The Philippines. for my Filipino family. I got so much Philippine friends. I went to school with Catholics, and many of them were Filipino. I love the culture. Anyway, moving on. The Pacific Anchor, the Philippines, the Austronesian expansion. The Philippines is the heart of the Austronesian world. Austronesian language family spans Madagascar off Africa's east coast, western limit, Easter Island, Pacific, eastern limit, Taiwan, Philippines, original hub, and Indonesia, Malaysia, Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. This is the largest language family by geographic distribution in human history. The mainstream explanation is farmers from Taiwan migrated outward starting 5,000 years ago. The grid explanation, this wasn't migration, this was grid expansion. Austronesian navigators were maritime grid operators. They positioned settlements at island nodes across the Pacific and Indian Oceans. The language spread because they were transmitting the same knowledge system across vast distances. I gotta tell you, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, moving on. The Ifugao rice terraces, harmonic agriculture, the Banu rice terraces, northern Luzon, built by the Ifugao people over 2,000 years ago. 20,000 plus hectares of hand carved terraces climbing mountain slopes reach elevations of 1,500 meters. It's an UNESCO World Heritage Site. What does the mainstream say about it? Impressive agricultural engineering. That's it. What does the grid say about it? Well, let's see. The grid says these terraces are resonance amplifiers. Water flow management. So it's a it's a water flow management system. Complex irrigation system channels water from mountaintop forests down through the terraces. Moving water creates what? Moving electrical current. Terrace structure, right? The way it's terraced equals stepped transformer, like electrical transformers that change voltage. Geometric precision. Number two, contour lines follow natural topography, matching Earth's electromagnetic fields. Ain't that something? Each terrace level equals harmonic, like musical octaves. Each level resonates with the others. The social and spiritual function of this. Ifugao cosmology. Rice is sacred. Terraces connect earth to sky. The grid translation, terraces connect terrestrial earth to celestial cosmic radiation from above. Rice growing rituals involve chanting specific songs at specific times, which is frequency technology. The result, not just food production, biofield enhancement, people living, working on the terraces are constantly in a resonant electromagnetic field. Community coherence, collective work synchronizes consciousness. Isn't that incredible? Wow. Moving on. Here we go. We have the Chocolate Hills, natural grid markers. Bohol Island, 1,268 conical hills, officially maybe more. Did you hear that? 1,268 conical hills, perfectly symmetrical cone shapes, covering 50 square kilometers, turn brown in dry season, hence the chocolate. So, what is the mainstream explanation? They say limestone weathering and erosion. Questions mainstream don't answer, though, is why are they so uniform in shape? Why in this specific location? Why do and indigenous legends call them sacred? The grid interpretation, these are natural electromagnetic focal points. Limestone, which is calcium carbonate, has piezoelectric properties. Conical shape equals antenna, receiver geometry, and focuses electromagnetic energy at its peak. 1,268 hills equals antenna array covering 50 square kilometers. Indigenous peoples recognized this and considered them sacred, off limits for settlement. The Chocolate Hills equals natural grid infrastructure that the ancestors preserved by making them culturally sacred. Well done. The Philippines grid function. Pacific anchor, 7,641 islands equals a vast distributed grid network. Typhoon corridor receives massive atmospheric electromagnetic activity, lightning, charged particles. Volcanic islands, high iron content, thin crust equals electromagnetic exposure. Position between Asian mainland and Pacific expanse equals bridge between continental and oceanic grids. It connects west to Vietnam / China via South China Sea, south to Indonesia and Malaysia, east to Micronesia, Polynesia, Pacific Maritime Network, and north to Taiwan, Japan, and Korea. How about that? I mean, just look at this, man. Like, they actually look at things like this and just turn them away. They don't really even explain them enough. You know what I'm saying? 1,268 of these things. Piezoelectric structures functioning as distributed antenna array. This is crazy, man. From this hub, Austronesian navigators spread grid technology across 1/3 of the Earth's surface using islands as distributed nodes in an oceanic network. Isn't that incredible? Wait till you hear this one. What about the system integration? Huh. This is not 4 separate cultures, yo. It is one integrated network with specialized nodes. Vietnam, northern anchor, receives continental energy from China via the Red River. Processes Dongson drums convert to frequency transmissions. Transmits maritime energy via sham navigators to the Philippines or Indonesia. Cambodia, the central hub, receives river energy from Mekong, lake energy from Tonle Sap, processes Angkor Complex hydraulic astronomical computer. That's what it is, y'all. Transmits to Thailand west, Vietnam north, Malaysia and Indonesia south. Thailand, the western gateway, receives Indian Ocean maritime transmission, Andaman coast, processes 3 river junctions, Ayutthaya and others. Is that what it is? Ayutthaya and others, yes. And transmits to Cambodia east, Myanmar north, and Malaysia south. The Philippines, the Pacific anchor, that receives Pacific cosmic radiation, typhoon electromagnetic energy, processes island network, 7,641 distributed nodes, rice terraces, terrestrial harmonics, transmits to Indonesia, Malaysia South, Taiwan, Japan North, and Polynesia East. The greater networks. This Southeast Asian hub connects the West, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Indian Ocean grid. North is China to Vietnam to Philippines to Korea to Japan, Asian Continental grid. And the East, the Philippines to Micronesia to Polynesia to the Americas, Pacific Ocean grid. And the South, Indonesia starts at Indonesia to Australia, Southern Hemisphere grid. Southeast Asia equals the 4-way junction where every major grid system meets. Wow. So what's the evidence we can see of that today? In Vietnam, we can see the Dongson drums in museums, in the Hanoi National Museum, My Son Sanctuary at the UNESCO World Heritage, accessible to visitors, and the sham towers along the coast, Po Nagar in Nha Trang, still active as a temple. In Cambodia, what's the evidence? Angkor Wat complex. Visit sunrise. Feel the alignment. Tonle Sap Lake. Observe the water reversal phenomenon. Lake flows backward seasonally due to the Mekong pressure. And acoustic resonance in temple galleries. You can test that yourself, yo. In Thailand, Ayutthaya ruins. See the Three River confluence. Also, ancient Mon Khmer temples predating Thai arrival, Lapuru, and the Nakhon Pathom, whatever that is, and the Hill tribe villages, communities maintaining pre-colonial knowledge. In the Philippines, you can see the evidence of it at the Bano rice terraces, still farmed using traditional methods. That's so dope. Chocolate Hills, protected natural formations, and island chain showing Austronesian settlement patterns. So, what are the lessons for the African diaspora? Maritime knowledge equals power. Southeast Asian peoples navigated thousands of miles of open ocean, connected islands across the Pacific and Indian Oceans, and maintained knowledge networks across vast distances. African maritime history, often suppressed, was equally sophisticated. Nile Red Sea Indian Ocean route connected to Africa to Asia. Atlantic crossing, Olmec connection shows pre-Columbian African presence in the Americas. Water doesn't separate, it connects, yo. What else? Small populations, big impact. Austronesian navigators never had massive armies. They never built huge empires. They just spread across 1/3 of Earth's surface, Madagascar to Easter Island. How? Superior navigation, yo. Star maps, ocean current knowledge, network thinking, nodes distributed, not centralized, knowledge preservation, oral traditions, practical skills. Your lesson, you don't need majority population to have global influence. Decentralized networks like the grid are more resilient than empires. Knowledge is the real power. Sacred sites preserve technology. That's right. Throughout Southeast Asia, indigenous peoples made grid nodes sacred. This protected them. Religious taboos prevented development. Even when formal knowledge was lost, the sites were preserved. Perfect. African sacred groves, ancestor shrines, ritual sites equals grid nodes. Superstition, don't cut that tree, don't build there equals encoded technical knowledge. Protecting sacred sites equals protecting the grid, yo. So the invasions, they target grid knowledge, right? Every invasion in Southeast Asia, the Burmese destruction of the Ayatara grid warfare, which was grid warfare, the Chinese invasions of Vietnam, suppressing Dongson culture, the European colonization and opium wars, disrupting indigenous knowledge, Japanese occupation, World War II, systematic temple destruction. Oh, I hate you, mother. I'm just playing. And U.S. bombings of my son, Vietnam War, destroying sham temples. Sickening. Same pattern as European colonization of Africa. Middle Passage and slavery, breaking African knowledge transmission. Residential schools, breaking Native American transmission. Colonizers don't just want land or resources, they want to break the grid. It's pretty universal, isn't it? Anyway, Southeast Asia, it shows us that the grid is not a myth. It's not even hidden. It's hiding in plain sight. Angkor Wat, the world's largest religious monument, is a hydraulic astronomical computer. Hello. I think Teotihuacan is the same, but we'll get to that. The Dongson drums in museums worldwide are electromagnetic frequency transmitters. The Banu terraces, the UNESCO heritage site, equals a harmonic resonance amplifier or amplifiers. Chocolate Hills, which is a tourist attraction, natural antenna array. The knowledge wasn't lost, it was misinterpreted. Tourists take selfies at grid nodes every day, not knowing that they're standing on brilliance. Wow. So there it is, yo. Southeast Asia was never a backwater. It was the crossroads of the planetary grid. Very important, by the way, where African Indian knowledge met Pacific knowledge, creating the most sophisticated maritime network in human history. And the descendants of those builders are still there, still farming the terraces, still navigating the seas, still maintaining the knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out and enjoying this lesson. I hope to see you again tomorrow. This is a Rise United Omniversity video about the Asian grid, man. Yo, this is pretty amazing. I've been doing this now for 19 days, and the information I didn't know a lot of this information, but the grid is telling me it all. And I mean, there's so much more I'm not telling you guys right now. This is just really a breakdown of 30 days, but there's really so much more information. But what I'll start doing is maybe I might just start doing some lives so you guys can start asking some questions while I do my thing, if you know what I'm saying. All right, that should be very interesting because I know I'll get some people on there that really don't understand that, yo, this world is not what you think it is, man. It's a lot different than what you think it is. So you're gonna have to look at it differently, right? It's electromagnetic, and there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why it's being hidden, but that's okay. We're gonna bring it to light. All right. Anyway, rise up. Have a wonderful night and take it easy. See you tomorrow.